Good afternoon, StreamYard and YouTube fans. And I have something here that is going to be the key to my 2022 defending champion repeat season. Yeah. This time it's time for me to be a repeat champion, or try to be a repeat champion. I told you last time that I was on that I just recently got my fantasy football draft position, and I will be drafting ninth this year. And so, yeah, and our draft is tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm going to talk about fantasy football today. If you'll notice in my comment section on my page, on my StreamYard page there, you'll see the link if you would like to join me and be a guest with me on my show. I have a free account. I think I can only have about 6 guests. But if you want to pop in and talk about fantasy football, hey, feel free. I did give a link to my friend, uh, my nephew Nathan, so he may pop on. I doubt it, but we'll see. Let me see if I can copy the link and paste it. All right. Ah, well, I was gonna try to see if I could get my friend Doc Sims to join me, but I can't. I was trying to copy and paste. I couldn't do that, so I'm not gonna do that. But here it is. This is the key. What's in here is the key to uh, me possibly being a return and defending repeat champion. And yeah, and what do you say is in here? Well, I got a couple of cheat sheets in here, and what I did is I got a couple copies of these, and these come from you'll see the Fantasy Football Index uh, magazine, and these are kind of cheat sheets for game day. And I've basically got your standard sheet and what is known as your points per perception, or your performance-based sheet. A little bit of changes here and there as far as players go, but yeah, that's what I got. These did come out of like I said, the Fantasy Football Index, and I was kind of gonna I'm gonna have to do some banners here, so let's see how it goes. Uh, yeah, I need to create a banner. The first thing about fantasy football is see how this works. First thing about fantasy. Oh, and I need to edit that. First thing about fantasy football is you need to like the NFL football, of course. Uh, if you're a big football fan, you'll love fantasy football. It's the idea of taking a squad of uh, 18 players, nine that are in your lineup on a weekly basis, and nine that are bench players. Because we all know that about halfway through the season, you have to sub in and out players because people are on bye weeks, and that's the reason why you have a bench of nine players. Uh, the second thing is you need to the second thing is wait a minute. Second thing is you need to go to a website and sign up, like ESPN or CBS Sports Line. The thing about that is when I actually first uh, started playing fantasy football, it was back around 1983, and there was no ESPN, there was no uh, CBS Sports Line. You actually had to pick up a magazine like Fantasy Football Index, and you had to uh, find out a place and do it snail mail type thing. Yeah, now you can go to like uh, ESPN or CBS Sports Line, and the other good one is the other good one is the Sporting News. Those are the three good uh, draft sites for fantasy football, and they are awesome. Oh, I see. I can only scroll one ticker thing at a time, so that's okay. It's good to know that. Uh, the third thing about fantasy football that people uh, need to do. Third thing you need to do is you need to keep up with the players. You got to know who's who. You know, some teams are good teams, some teams are not good teams, but even your not so good teams will have good players. Example: Miami Dolphins. Not always the best of teams. they're usually about middle of the pack or towards the bottom of the NFL Eastern Division. And they just acquired Tyreek Hill from Kansas City this past season. And even though that Miami may be uh, so-so or crummy, he's probably going to have a good year because he's really their number one go-to player. Another good example is the Cincinnati Bengals are always, you know, last year they made it to the Super Bowl for the first time in forever, and it was great. But they're a team that's usually so-so in the middle there, and uh, I'll have to say that their kicker is a kicker that when you're looking for kickers in the later rounds, you'll want to keep an eye on because they'll usually have at least a good kicker, and that's if that's a position you're looking for, and that's a good find for a team. Cleveland is the same way. Uh, they have their running backs are good running backs. Chubb is an example of that, and so they are a good running team. So I don't know if he's going to be their go-to guy on third downs or not, but they have good running backs, and they always seem to have a good kicker as well. Um, let's see here. What else do we need to know about the next thing you'll want to know or do is you need to come up with a game day plan for uh, draft day. And the thing about this is where you are in the draft kind of can determine who you're going to pick. In your 1, 2, 3 slots, it's pretty much a no-brainer. You're most likely going to pick a running back. Uh, in your 4, 5, 6 slot, you're going to pick a running back or a wide receiver type thing. The 7, 8, 9, 10 slot, and this is where I'm drafting is ninth. Uh, you can get any combination, but most likely it's probably going to be running back, wide receiver, tight end, and you might want to pick up a quarterback. You never know. And when you're at the end, like the 9, 10 slot, like I am this year, you get a pick. 10th person gets 2 picks, and then it's back to you on 9. So it's quick turnaround there. And in that case, if my idea is this year to pick up a tight end for that ninth pick, and then turn around on the second round. It's most likely going to be a running back uh, because you don't want to go three. You don't want to be weak at one position, and if you pick a tight end or a wide receiver or a quarterback with your first pick, then you definitely want to go and get a running back in your next pick because it's going to be a long time around to get to your third pick, and it'll be a little thin at the number one running back slot. Uh, and The next thing you need to know is what your starting lineup for the season will consist of. In our league, we have one quarterback. We have we start one running back. No, I'm sorry. We start one quarterback, two running backs, three wide receivers, a tight end, and a defense. You've got to know what your starting lineup consists of, um, which means when you draft, you're going to want. Uh, we have like 18 players that are allowed in our lineup, so you're going to want at least one quarterback. You're going to want at least two quarterbacks, two tight ends, two defenses, two kickers, and then that let's see, two quarterbacks. You want two quarterbacks, two tight ends. That's four. Two defenses. That's six. Two kickers. That is eight. You're gonna want four. Uh, Four running backs, and it's the rest combination thereof. Uh, and That's kind of what you need to know. The next thing you need to know is your draft order. Where are you in the draft? Uh, my particular league, Uh, we have 10 teams, and it's kind of what we call a couples league, which means I'm paired up with another player, so to speak, and I can I can make trades with other teams in my league, but but when it comes to that other player, and in my case, it is Nathan, who is the number one draft pick. We've got a rule that if I'm going to trade with him, if I were to trade with my partner Nathan, there has to be a third party involved, and everybody has to agree to it, and it has to be approved by the commissioner of the league, which is my brother-in-law. Uh, and You have to know your draft order. And the other reason you need to know your draft order is because, unlike a typical ESPN league, uh, there may be some quirks in that particular person has that may not be traditional standard ESPN or CBS sports line thing. Uh, for instance, we have a person uh, named Maureen and Jeff in our league, and Maureen likes Florida State players, and Jeff is a big Raiders, Los Angeles, not Los Angeles, but Las Vegas Raiders fan. So when if he were drafting like right after me, if he was drafting 10th, which he isn't, but if he was drafting 10th, he might want to pick up a the Raiders. I mean, yeah, he might want to pick up the Raiders tight end, and that might be something I want to think about if at my 9 slot in the first round, if I was looking for for tight ends and I was thinking about him, I might want to grab him there because I know that if I don't grab him now, you know, Jeff is going to take him in the 10th slot because he's a big Raiders fan. That kind of thing comes up, and it's more that kind of knowing who you're drafting in front of and behind of becomes important in the later rounds. I don't think and for this year, me, I draft in front of a guy named Jonathan, and behind me is my sister, and I need to be aware of what kind of uh, players that those people may or may not want to uh, to pick up. When it comes to the draft, you want to have at least a plan A, B, or C because, like, if I'm getting ready to pick, uh, say it's that first round, and I'm getting ready to pick the tight end that I want, it could be that the person in front of me, I'm looking at, if I'm looking at, say, Ingram from Jacksonville, as the guy that I want to get, tight end I want to get, you know, he may have just gone before me, the guy before me, and that means that I'm going to have to pick somebody else. So you always need to have a plan A, B, and C. Write it down and kind of uh, and I try to adhere to that as much as possible until something happens, or if you get in the later rounds, sometimes you'll have these like wide receiver sales or running back sales where 2 or 3 rounds in a row, people are getting going strong on running backs. So rather than picking running backs or wide receivers, you might want to pick a different position. And it's always good to start try to be the first person to start your defensive picks and your kicker picks, because there are not as many kickers, not as many defenses, but in the later rounds, you want to try to get those as quick as you can. Uh, the sixth thing that you need to know in fantasy football when drafting is you got to know your players' bye weeks. You don't want to have a lineup where everybody in your lineup has an 8 week 8 bye. You just don't want it because then if you forget if you keep your lineup the same in that week, you're going to get no points. Uh, Plus, it's you don't want to have more than like 2 or 3 people with the same bye week. It's okay to have uh, one or two, but when you start getting 3 and 4 players, it tend to you want to have a balance of players uh, that and if you have a lot of your starters and you're going to your bench, it's can take a toll if you got more than 3 players out on a particular week. And the other thing with regards to bye weeks is you want to make sure that say when Burrows is out in week 10 that you take him out and put his substitute or your secondary quarterback in, because if you don't, you're going to get 0 points on the quarterback position. And we have had that happen in our league before, where a player has not, and it's just the nature of the kind of the nature of the beast, so to speak. The next thing that you need to know is, and I wrote it down here, is make sure you have a full starting lineup. It's not so much, it's not so much necessary in the first few weeks, but once your bye weeks start, it is very critical. It is very important because, like I said, if you have 2 or 3 guys that are out and you just leave your lineup the same, you're gonna have uh, you're gonna have a hard time. And if you have a couple weeks if you have 2 or 3 weeks where you're got 3 players out, it could be a difference between having a good season and a very poor season in that. Once the season is up and going, you need to be aware of kind of up and coming players that are on the free agent list. Basically, that is the list of players that nobody picked during the draft, and they're left in case, like, say you've got Mixon and he gets hurt and he's out 10 weeks. Well, now you got to get a backup quarterback for him. Not, I mean, backup running back. Uh, and you got to be aware of those up and coming players. More so, the closer you get towards the end of the season, because it may lap and interfere with your playoff possibility. And in our 10 team leagues, the top 4 teams make it. One will play 4, and 2 will play 3, and the winners play to reach the Super Bowl. And there's uh, 2 divisions of 5 teams. Only the top 4 make it. So 8 out of the 10 teams. So the worst team in each division will not make the playoffs. Uh, and the last tip I wanted to give out is the idea of have fun. It's just kind of a game. It's something to have fun with. Uh, it's a way to connect and interact with the NFL football season and people who like the NFL football season. Um, and that also there's another type of uh, football type thing that's called Survivor. And what it is you pick a team uh, each week, and as long as you win, you stay in. Lose, and you go home. But the thing about it is, you're not allowed to pick the same team twice. You can only pick uh, you only pick one team per week to win, and you cannot pick the same team twice. And you could have, I mean, you could have 10 teams in a league, and all but two be out in week one because they didn't choose winners. You know, uh, you just you just never know. But that is another type of thing, kind of like it's a fantasy football type thing. But there are they call them you pick 'em type leagues, and I know that ESPN has it, and I think CBS Sportsline does too. I'm not sure about Sporting News, but those are always kind of fun. Uh, and yeah, it's this has been something that I've done since 1983. And just so you know, that is kind of my those are my championship years right there on Yahoo. I won was my first win in fantasy football, and what happened that year is uh, it was one of my first times playing. And what happened that year is I had Vinny Testaverde as my quarterback, and I was looking for somebody, somebody to help me out after week one. And that was the year that Donovan McNabb played Dallas that year, and they scored 54 points, and they won like 54-20 or something like that. And I saw that he was available, and I picked him up, and boom, off off to the Super Bowl pretty much. That one pick is what propelled me to the Super Bowl. In ESPN in 2005, Eli Manning was my quarterback, and I believe Peyton Manning was my backup quarterback at the time. And or something like that. I all I know is that Eli Manning was the quarterback I used that season most of the time. He's the one that got me to a win in that. And just last year, you'll see that last one is 2021. That was a really interesting season as well because I was the second worst team in the league, and I had a 5-9 record. Yeah, that's right, 5-9 record. That is basically a 35%, 32 to 35% winning rating. Um, and to get you to understand what that's like, basically the Chicago Bears last year, their win rate was 30%, and by week 10 or 11, they were eliminated from playoff contention. They didn't even make the playoffs. I just barely made the playoffs. The only other team that was worse than I was my nephew Nathan's team, and I think he was like 4-8-1, something like that. Uh, so yeah, uh, and he didn't make the playoffs because he was the last in his division, but I just barely made it. I was 5-9, and I played since I was the 4 seed. That I was 4 seed in my division. I played the number 1 seed. I eked out a win by 4 points, 3 to 4 points, like that. But my last 3 wins were easily 8 to 10, 8 to 10 points. I think I won the Super Bowl by 10 to 12, and I actually it was actually the Super Bowl was against my sister, uh, and very very interesting. Let's see who we got. Oh, good to see you, Tim Tri-fan. I saw that somebody was here. Marshall Falk in 2001 led you to a title. That's good. Uh, yeah, I've won like I'm showing you on the ticker tape there. I've won 3 fantasy football championships, and the last one being last year, and I had it was it was the best of my championship seasons because I had the second worst team in all of fantasy football, and I won the last 4 games in order to win the Super Bowl. And at the end of the season, everybody was like, "What the what the heck happened?" Because it wasn't a team that was like 9-4 or 8-5 or 7-6 or something. I had a losing record. Yeah, it was atrocious, and I was not proud of how I limped into the playoffs. And I thought I was going to be, 1 week and boom, done. But I pulled 4 good weeks together and trophy, you know. But that does not happen all the time. And if you'll notice that there's 16 years in there between my ESPN championships. 2005 actually was the year before our league started compiling stats using ESPN as the main source of keeping our league records and stuff like that. Um, but I just wanted to get on and share with you some tips and tricks for fantasy football. Uh, I've got to get off here and kind of come up with a game plan for game day. Yeah, I know, Tim. There are years where practically, and I know this has happened for like the last 2 or 3 years. There's seasons where your top guys they'll play 2 or 3 weeks, and then they're like Gronkowski. The last 2 or 3 seasons, he played 2 or 3 weeks, but he was out 10 weeks. Uh, a year or two ago, I had Christian McCaffrey on my team. He played 2 weeks for me and sat the bench the rest of the season because he was out 10 to 12 weeks. And to have a player that's out 10 to 12 weeks and he's comes back for playoffs, well, that's great, but you got to make the playoffs. You know, and the very first time I did fantasy football, I it was like I said, it was snail mail. It was via mail. I had to actually do my I'd get my list or whatever, and I'd have to fill it out as soon as I got it, as far as lineup for the week. And I got Stan Humphreys, and I picked him because he was just coming off a Super Bowl loss, and I figured he'd be a good quarterback. Well, after he played like 3 weeks, and I spent the rest of the year trying to find a quarterback to give some semblance to my team, and I only won 3 games that year, and it was horrible. I had a horrible season, and yeah, uh, that's not the way you want to start your fantasy football career, is with only 2 or 3 wins. But this has been episode 251. We've been talking about fantasy football, and I've been giving you some tips on fantasy football and stuff like that. Uh, you all have a good evening. Take care. Uh, like I said, I got to get off here and come up with a game plan for my uh, fantasy football draft. And I know who I want to draft first, but I haven't really come up with a game plan past the third round yet, and there are 18 rounds. So, yeah. Uh, Tim Tribe fan, thanks for stopping by. You all take care. Have a good evening. And Chris and I planning on our part 5 of our Strat King of the Hill. I will be having the 68 Tigers, because my Tigers beat his Pirates yesterday, and he is going to go Fernando Valenzuela on me and pick the 80 some season in the 80s with the Los Angeles Dodgers. So it will be the 80 Dodgers type thing versus the 1968 Tigers, and I'm hoping that eventually I get a chance to play the I hope he gets to. I hope he decides to pick the Cincinnati Reds 75 or 76 version. I'd like a chance to try to beat him, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I just thought I'd come in and stop by. It's fantasy football season, and it's also, this time of year is also the my anniversary of my show anyway. Uh, and this I've had this iteration of my Praise Sports Network going on for a year now, and I've got 251 episodes. You all take care. Have a good evening, and I may or may not be back on, but I got to come up with a game plan first. Have a good one, guys.